These are the topics we already discussed in the class, and the assignment you are given covers almost all of these topics. You already have the concept of risk, uncertainty, and insurance. You also understand the mechanism of insurance and basic premium calculations. We now move on to see what are the major categories of insurance. Insurance is a broad, generic term embracing the entire area of institutions that deal with risk through the device of risk sharing and transfer of risk. Insurance may be divided and subdivided into classifications based on the perils insured against or the fundamental nature of the particular program. Basically, the primary distinction is between private and social insurance. Private insurance consists for most of the part of voluntary insurance programs available to the individual as a means of protection against the possibility of loss. This voluntary insurance is usually provided by the private firms, but in some instances it is also offered by the government. The distinguishing characteristics of private insurance are that it is usually voluntary and that the transfer of risk is usually accomplished by the means of a contract. While, in contrast, social insurance is compulsory insurance, usually operated by the government, whose benefits are determined by law, and in which the primary focus is on social adequacy. In general, the benefits under social insurance program attempt to redistribute income based on some notion of the social adequacy. Social insurance differs from private insurance in a number of aspects. In case of social insurance, we use the insurance mechanism for transferring and sharing risk, but we do that on a qualified basis. Social insurance provides compulsory protection for personal risk, those that involve the possible loss of income or asset because of premature death, dependent old age, sickness, disability, or even unemployment. Social insurance seeks to provide a floor of protection to persons who would not individually be able to cope up with certain fundamental risks. It does this by providing benefits not only to those in need but to others as well. There are some conditions for social insurances that need to be satisfied. First of all is this, the coverage should be compulsory by law. Secondly, to have the benefits, there is no requirement that the individual demonstrate inadequate financial resources, although a dependency status may need to be established. Now, what does this mean? This means that, for example, an individual retires as a professor. Now, he might not be facing any financial inadequacies, but by law, he became entitled to receive the pension amount. Likewise, there are other examples as well. Next, the method of determining benefits should be prescribed by law. Obviously, if you want to implement something, you have to give benefits to a number of people. You have to have a law. Number 4, the benefits for any individual are not directly related to contribution made by or in respect to him or her, but instead usually redistribute income so as to favor certain groups, such as those with low former wages or large number of dependents. It can be seen as the transfer from young to old people. That is, the contribution made by the young today are being used to provide old age benefits to olders we have today. That is, there is a possibility that the contributors might differ from the beneficiaries. It can also be seen as from rich to poor, or from any other privileged group to the unprivileged or the unfortunate one. For financing these benefits, there should be a definite plan. Obviously, otherwise you will have to face shortages of funds while providing the benefits. Social insurances are usually administered or at least supervised by the government. Most importantly, the plan is not established by government solely for its present or formal employees, but for the general public as well. In a nutshell, social insurance is a type of insurance provided by government, usually against survival, retirement, disability, health, and unemployment risk to benefit qualified residents. It has certain characteristics, including that participation is compulsory, financing relies on government mandated premiums, which are obviously either taxes or social security contributions that the government collects. Income security is provided for well-defined risk, and the recipient is not subject to an economic need test, but we have already discussed in the example of the profession. The focus of the social insurances is on social equity or income redistribution. Most importantly, premiums here reflect expected payouts for each insured, rather expected losses as in the case of private insurances. Private insurances consist of those insurance programs that are available to the individual as protection against financial losses. It is usually voluntary and generally based on the concept of individual equity. To have a clear picture or distinction between private and social insurances, let's have it in a comparative way. In private insurance, we have voluntary contributions. In social insurance, we have compulsory contributions. Private insurances are usually provided by the private sector, but not necessarily, while social insurances are provided by the public sector because of its very nature. Transfer of risk in private insurances is accomplished by the means of a contract, while in social insurances, benefits are determined by law, in which primary focus is on social adequacy or equity. In private insurances, we have the principle of individual equity, while in social insurances, we are more focusing on the redistribution effect of income. In social insurances, beneficiaries can be individuals themselves or others, while in private insurances, beneficiaries are usually the individuals themselves or those nominated by them. Lastly, in private insurances, premiums reflect insured's expected losses, which he is expecting to have in the future. And in social insurances, as we already said, premiums reflect the expected payouts, rather expected losses. Before ending up, there are certain things that you need to keep in mind. First, the mere fact that a specific type of insurance is compulsory does not make it a social insurance program. Compulsory automobile insurance, for example, does not meet the other conditions listed and therefore is not a social insurance. Furthermore, although the government is usually the transferor in a social insurance program, but this is not a prerequisite. Workers' compensation insurance is a social insurance coverage that is sold by commercial insurers. Hence, some private insurance is sold by government, and not all compulsory insurances is social insurances. Moving on to further explain the private insurance. Private insurance sectors divide itself between companies that sell insurance on a person, known as the life insurances, and those that sell insurance on insurances to protect property, referred to as non-life insurances. So basically, we're gonna distinguish between these two. Non-life insurances. Insurances are usually used to provide protection against property losses, that are damages to or destruction of property, including homes, automobile, business, aircraft, etc. Liability losses, which we already discussed in the class, that are payments owed third party resulting from the insured negligence, and workers' compensation and health insurances. While life insurances are to protect life and covers the risk of mortality, longevity, and morbidity. Mortality risk is the possibility that one's death create undesirable financial consequences for others, covered by life insurances. Longevity risk is the possibility of outliving one's financial resources, covered by endowments, annuity, and pensions. While morbidity risk is the possibility that injuries, illness, or incapacity creates unacceptable financial consequences, covered by health insurance, disability income insurances, and long-term care insurances. Now, to understand the longevity risk, let's consider this figure. In the initial phase of an human, he or she lives as independent. Then he started earning. And there is a phase when his income, this is the income line, his income is greater than his consumption. In this area, he will be actually saving or accumulating wealth, which can be used or utilized in the period after he retires or is not earning anything. By his death, as per the hypothesis, we see that all his income or all his wealth savings would be end up. But what if he survives even longer than this death? How he gonna survive for the period he after this point in time? Let's suppose he lives even from not from okay, sorry. Let's suppose he lives longer than this point, or he lives somewhere here. For this period, how he gonna finance his consumption? This is what we known as longevity risk.